Superman is the greatest superhero of all time, and I know that statement is very controversial. Everyone has their own favorite superhero. Me personally, my favorite is Batman. But Superman not only represents the superhero genre as a whole, but also the stepping stone for other characters to branch off into different directions and become their own superheroes. He was the first superhero to do all of this. And I know that he may not be the very first superhero in history. I mean, I'm sure there were other ones before him. But when you think of a superhero, Superman is the golden standard whether you like him or not. I think people dislike Superman for all the wrong reasons. And once they understand the reasons why he's so likable and so great, people can potentially have different viewpoints on him. Superman is a character with so much depth on an extremely high level. He represents so many things and can be interpreted in many different interesting ways. People who dislike Superman tend to not like him because he may seem too powerful or he doesn't have much character. And I'm not trying to generalize everybody, but that's the main consensus that I see for the hate that he gets. This video here is to tell you that he's so much more than that. And the video is going to discuss why Superman is the greatest superhero of all time. So let's just start with Superman's backstory and how he's generally portrayed as a character, right? So this will be quick. So most people know that Superman was from a dying planet, Krypton, sent to Earth by his parents. Then he was adopted and raised by his Earth parents, grew up learning his powers, and then once he grew up, became Superman. Alright, that's just it in a nutshell. Superman is generally portrayed as a symbol of hope. He has an upbeat attitude, lovable personality, and never thinks of himself as above anybody, generally. I know there's stories like Injustice where he's an evil tyrant, but classic Superman simply wants to help and doesn't care about being put on a pedestal or ask for praise or anything of that sort. And that does apply for a lot of superheroes, sure, but I think this is the most prevalent and extremely powerful hero such as Superman because that aspect is put into such a bigger perspective. If you're a hero like Batman, who doesn't ask for praise or anything of that sort, it's one thing, but it's put in a different light when someone that's powerful like Superman shows that he considers himself equal to everybody else. And he simply uses his powers because he just happens to have them, and he just wants to use them to help.
Here you go, friend.
Thanks. Cool costume.
Thanks. My mom made it for me.
This kind of leads in my next topic as to why people don't like Superman. A lot of people do not like how overpowered, quote-unquote, he is and how he seems to have no personality. Before I talk about this, it's perfectly fine to not like Superman, okay? Like, I don't think anything of it. I don't think I'm above you or anything like that. If you don't like Superman, perfectly fine. But I feel there's a good amount of people that don't like him for the sake of it and don't really understand him as a character. Superman is extremely powerful, yes, and at times he can be overpowered, but that aspect can actually be used in very meaningful and entertaining ways. There's been times where just watching Superman take out a group of regular robbers is pretty entertaining to see, but to go more in depth, it really highlights who he is as a person. He's very respectful, he gets nervous around people, he gets frustrated, but he doesn't abuse his powers when he is. These are traits that human beings have, and most other characters. Seeing it in someone like Superman is a joy to see, because he is the most powerful of them all, generally, and he never considers himself above anybody else, which inherently makes you respect him as a character. I kind of compare it to Goku from Dragon Ball in that sense, where you have a very powerful character, but everyone grows a liking to him due to his personality. Nobody ever considers his powers to be a barrier between that, and it's entertaining to watch because of that. If Superman were to have this aura around him that he uses his powers to make himself above everybody else, or there's this kind of fear looming around him because of his power, then it would make him a completely different character that I feel some people perceive him as today. It all comes down to his humanity. People, including myself, love Superman for his humanity. He's such a good person. When you can make Batman your best friend, you know you have one of the most likable personalities and characters out there.
always have to be the hero, don't you?
Right back at you.
At the same time, Superman has struggles too. He understands how strong he is. He understands the place it puts him in. He knows he's seen as a leader, someone that people look up to. And he accepts it, and he is an excellent leader at times. And throughout all of this, he has his flaws. He may not make the best decision. You know, like he may not want to teach Superboy how to use his powers, or he may think, I don't know, Batman having a plan to stop him is wrong. Whether you agree with his stances or not, it shows he's not some perfect, powerful being that has all the answers. His flaws and characteristics align him with just about any other character, especially human beings, and that's a huge reason as to why he's so interesting. This makes him so interesting when he interacts with characters like Batman as well. His upbeat personality would make you think he doesn't mesh well with a dark and gritty character, but it works perfectly. He creates these really entertaining and memorable dynamics with characters that you just can't get with any other hero. Him and Shazam are another great example. They have a really good dynamic. Personalities make a big difference in these specific examples. I feel Superman is the perfect character to do so. As far as overpowered he is, a lot of stories that revolve around him have him going against villains who are on par with his power level. Doomsday or Darkseid. I know Darkseid's more of a Justice League villain, but it's nonetheless, you know, Superman fights him often. And even people that aren't nearly as strong as him physically, like Lex Luthor, challenging him in other ways. His rogues gallery challenges his intellect and strength. They push him to his limits and help him to prove him as the best superhero, not because Superman claims it, but because he proves it. And I know calling him the best is subjective, I suppose, but I truly think he is the best superhero. Even if he's not the most quote-unquote popular, you have to give respect where it's due. Superman's presence is what stands out about him, though, and it's not in any condescending way. He's a symbol of hope, and the go-to superhero in a lot of versions. His humanity, though, is what stands out the most out of any hero, and there's a lot of characters with that humanity aspect, like the Flash, but Clark does it best because of what I talked about, because when you learn more about him, he takes the lessons taught to him by his Earth parents, by how his planet destroyed itself, by other people around him when he was growing up. The inspiration it instills is like no other. It hits differently than any other superhero.
Maybe not. But what about your friends?
No!
Superman, go bye-bye! Stay back! It's full of acid! Ah!
Do I look like I'm playing games?
What are you gonna do to me?
I'm gonna punch a hole in your head.
We don't do that to our enemies.
Speak for yourself.
I'm trying to speak for Superman.
Aside from that, just from a visual standpoint, his fights are very entertaining. Flying around, punching his enemies like Zod at max speed, or going toe-to-toe with monsters like Doomsday is very entertaining to see. Sometimes it's good to see a classic superhero fight, and Superman is the pinnacle of that. And just based off how powerful he is, it makes it so you can see different iterations of him, like Evil Superman, which we see a lot these days. Injustice Superman is extremely popular, just to name one example. You can do so much with the character that makes him have a version for everybody, I feel. And again, if you don't or still don't like Superman, I completely respect it. I love when there's non-toxic debates and preferences when talking about this kind of stuff. But I wanted to make this video because I want people to see why people love Superman and why he's the best superhero of all time. Superman is a true example and classic symbol of the superhero genre because of his humanity, his legacy, his accomplishments, but also his flaws, the mistakes he can make, and so on. He uses his human ideologies first before resorting to anything else, and he'll do whatever it takes to save a life. One of my favorite examples from a comic issue is when Superman's talking to somebody named Felicity that is about to jump off a building. Superman stayed there the entire day, from day to night, talking with her, and Superman promised her that if she jumped, he wouldn't save her, because Clark discusses that he has had a friend that did take her own life because she couldn't stand another day of her terminal illness, and that she would never have another happy day again. Superman told Felicity that if she really believes she'll never have another happy day again, then she could step out into the air and Superman wouldn't stop her. But then tells her that if there's even the smallest chance that she can have another good happy day, then to take his hand, in which she does, and Superman comforts her. It's one of my favorite moments of Superman because he could have easily waited and caught her if she did jump, but chose to talk with her instead. More importantly, he gave her own choice, let her know that he's not in control of the situation as she is. Superman isn't exerting his power here, he's being a human being first, he's doing what any other good-hearted human being would do. Stuff like this solidifies that he is the example set for other heroes, he is what humanity should strive to be, not because he can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes, but because he tries to make humanity learn from their mistakes, and help everyone to be better versions of themselves, one step at a time.
Another dead end. I'm beginning to wonder if I might be wrong. I've got some things to say. I should have said them when you were here, but...
Despite our differences, I have nothing but respect for you.
I hope you know that.
You showed me that justice doesn't always have to come from the darkness.
I'll miss... What did you always call it, Clark? The never-ending battle?
He doesn't want to be perceived as a god or anything of that sort. He doesn't want to be anything, really. Just someone that happens to have great power that wants to help. And I think that he emphasizes that the most out of any other superhero, and that there's many versions of him that lose some of these traits, unfortunately, but the classic and pinnacle Superman is one of the most likable and inspirational characters ever written. And with everything that he does and sets himself out to do to help others, it may inspire you to do the same one day.